Hey, goRIA live stream. I'm Jeff Benjamin here in Chicago at the Morningstar Conference. Chuck, how you doing? It looks like you got a little party going on where you are.
We do have a party going on. So I'm Chuck Fela, and we are at the FPA Connecticut statewide conference, somewhere in the middle of the state.
All right.
Hey, what's
so
going on out in Chicago, Jeff? What's going on in Morningstar?
Well, it's Morningstar, so you know it's huge. You get 20,000 steps a day, I think, just getting to the sessions. Thousands of people here, a lot going on. Chuck, you were here with me yesterday morning where we did a goRIA podcast on their new podcast stage here, where we talked to Daniel Needham of Morningstar Wealth about that platform. It was excellent. I couldn't believe the professionalism of that. It was live. There was an audience there. It was video. They put it on social media probably an hour after we finished. And then that's, the usual stuff is going on here at Morningstar. A lot of talk about inflation and recession and asset allocation. And there's food and drink for those who are into that sort of thing. I know Knut is into that sort of thing. So he's probably getting on a plane now to come to Chicago.
That's right. He'll be right there. But that sounds good. I tell you what, that podcast was top notch, real professional production for sure. So look, I have with us here Knut Rodstead, who is the president of the, as you see right here, Institute for the Fiduciary Standard. And we have a real special guest here, James Lee, who is the president of FPA National. Knut, James, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It's great to be here.
No, you bet. So we're live here with goRIA.
Yeah.
What are we doing here today at FPA? What are we going to talk about? So just for the audience and Jeff, for your benefit as well, Knut, James, and myself, we're about to get onto the main stage and talk about some pretty cool things. What are we going to talk about?
Well, what's the first thing we're talking about? On top of your list, James.
Well, we're going to talk about an initiative that is priority for the Financial Planning Association, which is title protection of the term financial planner. Today, there is no standard to call oneself a financial planner, and we believe that there should be. In order to develop a bona fide profession called financial planning, the title financial planner should be protected under state or federal law.
That's right. So the goal here is we want to get rid of all Pinots. We want to get rid of all Pinots. What's a Pinot?
And it's not a wine. You're not talking about a wine.
I'm not talking about a wine. What's a Pinot?
P-I-N-O.
Pinot is planner in name only.
Planner in name only. Planner in name only. So
I like that.
Here with title protection, we don't want people going around calling themselves financial planners, but all they're doing is selling whole life insurance, right? If you're going to plan. So title protection is going to help the consumers understand who's really a planner and who's a Pinot, right? Planner and name only.
Right. And in our discussion, there are really two parts to what I think FPA is doing. One is the legal protection of the two words, and the other part, which I think is far more important, frankly, is to raise the standards and raise defining what competency level is there. And James and I will talk about it, but I have major problems with the first part from a very practical point of view in terms of protecting two words. And it's not by coincidence that I believe this based on what we have experienced with the word fiduciary over the last 15 years. The word has changed meaning considerably. It's not at all the same as it was just 15 years ago in federal regulation. So there is a problem, which we will discuss further on.
So we will definitely be talking about that. And just FYI for the audience, this almost certainly is going to turn into a podcast at some point for us, I think. And also we're going to have them back, both Knut and James, as well as Blaine Aiken, right, of fiduciary fame, for the RIA summit that's coming up in November. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and speaking of podcasts, we have another podcast that just dropped, I think today, or is posting this afternoon on our goRIA site. To get to our goRIA site, it's investmentnews.com, and up in the upper right-hand corner, you see a goRIA logo. Click on that, and it'll get you to everything we have there. We've got webcast, podcast, content specifically for breakaway brokers. We're basically building the blueprint there for helping you make that transition.
That's right. Hey, do we know which one is being added today to that list? Which podcast? I think it's the one from the Farther guys.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. But it's either going to be that or Cheryl Penny, right? From Dynasty.
Yeah, one or the other. It's
Okay.
definitely going to be part of that 3-part series. So the way we kind of kicked off goRIA was with 3 podcasts. One is going to be, it was already dropped. That was with Phil Trueblood. And that was actually a pretty thin shop, right? Like literally a 2-person shop that broke away
Right.
from a broker-dealer and set up their own RIA, which I think is a great story. Then the next 2 are going to be Cheryl Petty, who's going to talk about the dynasty model, which is
Right.
basically outsourcing everything but compliance. And then farther is the one where it's a complete tuck-in situation, where you tuck in and they will do your compliance, they will do your technology. So really what we're trying to do here is present the 3 different flavors of how to go RIA, completely on your own, completely with someone else, or the dynasty models, that sort of in between sort of area, which I think is pretty cool. So those could all be found again on the Investment News website. Go to that little tab that says Go RIA. That's going to have all that information and a lot more to come as well.
Yeah, and keep in mind that we're just scratching the surface here on what we're going to do with goRIA. We're going to do podcasts and webcasts and reports on, choosing your custodian, building your tech stack, setting your fees, everything that you're going to need to know to make that transition. And
That's right.
and please reach out to myself or Chuck to let us know what we can do along those lines. If there's something you think you'd like us to do some research or even maybe bring you on the podcast or the webcast to talk about it. We're looking for all of that. We want to be a one-stop shop.
Absolutely. So if you have any topics, any guests you want us to bring on, if you want to be a guest, let us know. We'll bring you on. It's pretty easy. We're starting to work out the kinks with this remote technology, so we can do this with a little bit more ease. But I think that's going to do it for today. Okay, so stay tuned. We're going to be doing these weekly. We're going to be dropping a podcast every couple of weeks. Lots of content on that goRIA site. But that's it for this week. We'll see you next week.